Hello Internet, welcome to another NPC Faction Camp Guide. Today we're going to be discussing the Isherwood family. So if you don't want to have spoilers, if you don't know what that is, and most likely most of you don't know what that is, this is your one and only opportunity to step away, so I'm going to give those people a chance to do that. In this episode, we're going to be discussing the location in general. We're not going to be going into specifics on missions or anything like that just yet. We'll be doing future episodes on the missions. This is just an introduction to what the location is. So this particular faction camp is pretty freaking rare. I spent probably about 15 minutes trying to get it to spawn naturally in the game. Unfortunately, it is an extremely large location, and in fact is the single largest location I've ever seen in Cataclysm. I don't know if anything can beat this, but it's quite enormous. Now, most of those tiles are going to be empty or forest tiles, but still this is the largest location I've ever seen. So if you take something like the science lab, which we're all pretty familiar with, and you took every tile from the average science lab and you stacked them all together on the same floor, it would still not even compete with this particular location. Part of the difficulty in getting this to spawn is its size, and because of these size requirements. After I couldn't get it to spawn, I went on the Discord and Mark responded to me saying that this location is actually required to spawn about 20 tiles from a city, or I think it's based on the center of the city, and possibly to the center of this location has to be 20 tiles. I'm not sure how that works exactly, but because of the enormous size and because of the frequency of cities in the average player's game, that makes this location extremely difficult to spawn. We can see similar issues with other large locations, the military base for instance, the research center. These other locations have difficulty spawning because there's just so much that already spawns on the map, and finding a place to put such a big location can be difficult, and again, this one is enormous. So here we're taking a look at it. I've spawned it separately and manually in the game. That way we can take a look at its actual size. It's very big. You'll see most of it is forest, but there are multiple smaller sections of this map, and we're going to take a look at those individually. Now, you'll probably start out finding this dirt road that leads to their farm. I just wanted to point this out briefly, there are a lot of boulders in this road, so it seems to me that they might be trying to force you to go on foot. I think that is not great because there are quests that I'm aware of already that require quite a lot of items that you're going to have difficulty carrying in your inventory. So it'd be much easier to pull the car up and then hoof it. So you probably can navigate here in a small vehicle. I would recommend, of course, a motorcycle or a bicycle being the most easily maneuvered. But it's worth noting that there are a lot of boulders here. Now, once you head into town, the first building you're going to be met with is most likely the barn and the farmhouse here. This contains two NPCs, specifically Claire Isherwood, the matriarch, and then in the shed next door, the little tool area, is Jack Isherwood. He is the patriarch of this family. There are quite a few NPCs located in this area, and we're going to be talking about them in detail in their own episodes. But for now, I just wanted to give you an overview. There are two NPCs in this particular farmhouse location. So here's something I did not find out until much later after I finished recording. Apparently, if you go to the Isherwood farm while wearing a Marshals badge, it will change the dialogue options available to you when you interact with the family. Most of them are apparently not fans of the Marshals and will simply not speak to you. However, there are some members who, if you confirm to them that you are a Marshal, you will be attacked by them. This is most notable with Jack here. I found that if I confirmed I was a Marshal, it was color-coded red, which let me know I was going to possibly turn him hostile. Now, 100% of the time in my experience, it turned him hostile, but at least it gives you the warning, so just bear that in mind. I don't really see a reason why anyone would be wearing a Marshal badge anyway. If you go talk to the, Doomsday Prepper sorts, maybe don't wear your law enforcement badge. Just spitballing here. Anyway, I didn't find this out until after I'd recorded the episode, so sorry for the addendum. Let's just jump back into it. There's a barn as well with some animals, and there is a farm-like area behind their home that will generate a variety of vegetables and things. The loot here is pretty sparse as far as I can tell. I'm not sure if this is because I'm in an advanced time frame. This character took place in summer, and it seems like it's possible things have rotted away. When I came here in my other character, it was looking very similar, so I don't know if that's tied to the actual in-game date or not, but they do have farm plots here. We're going to proceed down the road. There is a dilapidated shack of some sort that's not marked on the map here. It's just a little rundown area. A lot of it has been boarded up, and there doesn't seem to be anything of interest inside, although I'm wondering if that may be tied to certain quests later on. I have not done all of the quests in this location, so I have not seen everything it has to offer yet. But again, we're going to be going through them one at a time in depth in the future. Next, we come to a fork in the road. If we head to the north, there is another farmhouse. There are a lot of buildings here, including things like a chicken coop and a greenhouse. Worth noting that some items here are stealing, some are not marked as stealing, and then anything harvestable does not count as stealing, so you can freely pick all the plants and whatnot. In the farmhouse, we will find Lisa Isherwood. I am not sure what her relationship is. I believe she's the daughter of the next two NPCs. In the barn, we will find Jess Isherwood. This is the daughter of Jack and Claire, who we met earlier. And in the carriage house here, we will find, well, a carriage for one, but we will also find Carlos Isherwood, who I believe is Jess's husband. Now, what's interesting is that he's actually taken the Isherwood name, and it's not really clear if he did that prior to the apocalypse, you know, when they got married, he took his wife's last name, or if during the Cataclysm, they, as a family, decided everyone should just take the name Isherwood to make things a little bit simpler, to solidify those family bonds, that sort of thing. Either way, I find that an interesting detail, and I'm excited to interact with this portion of the family just to see kind of what their deal is and to verify if Lisa is their daughter or not. And that does it for this northern section. It's worth noting that although I might refer to things in a cardinal direction, this location can spawn in any orientation. So, you know, if I say the north, it's not always going to be the north. It's possible that in your location it will actually be the south. Traveling down the road here, I did find some giant wasps and a nest, but that is not something that will spawn every time. That's just an unfortunate side effect of the map gen. If we head down the road further, there is a field full of wheat. This is the most populated area of actual harvestable goods. Quite a lot of wheat here. We'll need this for a quest later on, so it is free to take. It's not stealing. So if you're looking for a lot of food, that is the place to do it. And of course, there are animals spread about the farm as well that you could potentially butcher or milk or what have you. Down here is the proper dairy farm. If we go inside the main building here, we will find Eddie Isherwood. I believe this is the son of the patriarch and matriarch that we found initially of Jack and Claire. And it's worth noting that despite previous locations not having theft on them, taking items from this location is considered stealing. So again, be really careful about that exclamation point. Next, in another building here to the south, we will find Eddie's son. This is Luke Isherwood, and he's living out here in this outbuilding for some reason. I'm sure there's probably a reason for that we'll learn in questing, because I see he has dialogue about why are you out here. So we'll figure that out in the near future. But that's the general overview of this location. There's not a lot to be mentioned. There are a lot of forest tiles, so you can do foraging while you're out here. There are quite a few ponds if you're looking for water, although that seems silly. There are also water pumps. And this really, in my opinion, seems like a really interesting place to set up your base. Not only would there be NPCs around that you could interact with, but also it's relatively safe. There's a lot of food and water in this area. And the main draw, of course, are the NPCs. And that's really it for this particular farm. We will be interacting with the NPCs in more detail later. I know this is a really short episode, but I wanted to give you an overview of what's where and the familial connections before we actually dove into individual missions. From what I've seen so far, it is largely fetch quests, but it has some interesting stuff going on, and conceptually, I really like the idea of a family just holed up somewhere on their farm surviving the zombie apocalypse. Now, there is dialogue at some point that references another family member who has gone missing or been taken, so we'll explore that as we go. But it's interesting that they indicate that they're not fully bulletproof, right? They haven't just been out here living safely and happily for so long. They are, in fact, at risk just like the rest of the community, just like every other survivor. They have lost people as well. It's worth noting as well that basically every survivor here has a bow of some sort, be that a crossbow or other kind of bow. They also have sidearms, and they're generally wearing somewhat cowboy-esque gear. It's not something that I would recommend you fight them. I did try to kill some of them in my, just for experimental reasons, but I would really caution you against trying to attack them unless you're quite equipped. Once you attack one, the rest become hostile, of course. and you really just don't want to make enemies, because these are people to trade with. These are people to give you something to do. I think that although the quests I've seen are not super interesting or super engaging, what is interesting is the roleplay aspect of you helping to maintain this family's safety and security, and I think that that's pretty interesting. So in the next couple of episodes, we will be picking the NPCs up and doing their quests as they're available to us, and we're going to see what kind of rewards we get, what kind of story is going on, and we're going to get to know the family a little bit better. So again, this was just an overview episode. Hopefully that all makes sense. Hopefully this was engaging enough for a 10-minute video. Yeah, I'll be back with more in the near future. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.